Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, an update on a suspect accused of murdering a cheerleader from Edna. Hate crime charges are still pending after a man is accused of stabbing a Palestinian-American man in Austin. And Israel's prime minister has rejected Hamas's ceasefire demands as the war in Gaza continues.
Well, the clouds are getting deeper and deeper. In fact, we've got a big, strong south wind at about 30 miles an hour, pumping up that moisture. So it's going to be getting warmer for a couple of days. And then we do still have that weekend rain. We'll be talking about it coming up.
Remains in chaos over the bipartisan border security and foreign aid bill, the latest this afternoon. You're watching 25 News now at 5.
This is breaking news from 25 News Now.
Breaking news today, a Jackson County grand jury has indicted the 23-year-old man accused of murdering Edna cheerleader Lisbeth Medina. He's indicted on charges of capital murder. 25 News Now weekend anchor Adam Seibel has more. Adam?
The indictment says Rafael Govea Romero intentionally caused the death of Medina while in the course of committing or attempting to commit robbery or aggravated sexual assault. The indictment accuses Romero of causing Medina's head to strike a firm surface. It accuses him of striking her head with a, quote, hard object and repeatedly stabbing or cutting Lisbeth Medina with a sharp object or edged weapon. Romero had overstayed a work visa and was arrested 5 days after 16-year-old Medina was found dead in her Edna apartment. Lisbeth's phone was active in the days following her death, and information from her phone led police to Schulenburg, which is where Romero was taken into custody. Authorities say he was found to have Lisbeth's wallet. Romero is at the Jackson County Jail with bond set at $2 million. Due to his immigration status, there is a hold and he is unable to post bond. No word if the district attorney plans to pursue the death penalty in this case. Don?
Thank you. A 17-year-old suspect was taken into custody by Victoria County Sheriff's deputies today. Manuel Nava is charged with riot participation. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $40,000 bond. Governor Greg Abbott is expected in Victoria Thursday to support Jeff Bouknight for the District 30 House seat. The event begins at 10:30 a.m. at the Victoria College Emerging Technology Complex, 7403 Lone Tree Road. The event with Governor Abbott is open to the public, but those who want to attend need to RSVP. Come to our website, crossroadstoday.com, for that link to RSVP. State Representative Jeannie Morrison announced she was not running for re-election back in December. Since the announcement, 4 Republican candidates have thrown their names in the hat for District 30. 25 News Now reporter Darius McCormick talked with 2 of the candidates.
Brett Baldwin and A.J. Louderback are 2 of the 4 Republican candidates in the race for District 30. When candidates run for office, they want to make a change. We asked Baldwin and Louderback what changes they would make if elected.
I definitely want to make sure that we get our state standards up higher so we attract other companies to come here and, more importantly, get our future students as well as the current ones ready for the workforce. And
I want to see a return to conservative values. I want to see, I want to address the culture change that's going on in Texas, in our district.
They also explained how they would make these changes happen in their potential terms.
Work collaboratively with the folks that are in leadership there, making sure that they understand what needs to be done. Our government in Austin looks at the bigger metropolitan areas and they make laws, and unfortunately those laws don't always do well for this area.
Well, I'm a known entity there. I wouldn't go into the Texas House being an unknown part. So I believe I'll have some immediate influence and some immediate impact in the Texas House.
Baldwin says his love for Christ, experience in business, and knowledge of the area makes him the best candidate.
I've worked for 3 international companies around the world, so I have a good experience and unique qualities that I can interface and work together and collaboratively find solutions.
Louderback says his law enforcement experience sets him apart from the other candidates.
My 5 terms as a Texas sheriff, my 10 sessions that I've worked religiously on, my border policies, my border work for many, many years sets me apart.
We've reached out to Vanessa Hicks Calloway and Jeff Bachnight. We plan to speak to them soon. Darius McCormick, KVUW 25 News Now.
Darius, thank you. One person was transported to a local hospital for minor injuries from a two-vehicle wreck Wednesday morning. A white vehicle was at an intersection at around 7 o'clock a.m. in the 3600 block of John Stockbauer. The driver was at a stop sign at the Williamsburg Avenue intersection with John Stockbauer when they failed to yield to a red truck headed northbound on John Stockbauer Drive. No injuries were reported. The driver of the white vehicle received a citation. The National Weather Service says Hallettsville was not hit by a tornado last Friday night. Instead, Hallettsville was hit by a microburst straight line wind during a thunderstorm. The area of damage was about a mile wide for about 7 miles. This kind of damage, according to the National Weather Service, is not uncommon with a strong line of thunderstorms that was moving through central Lavaca County last Friday night. Now let's take a first look at your First Warn Storm Team forecast. Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez joined us now with a look at what's going on outside. But I first got to ask you, Mac, were you kind of surprised at that report of the damage from that storm last Friday night in Lavaca County?
Well, unfortunately, many times we know the storm's coming through, but we can't see the damage until a day or two later. And of course, what they're always looking for is a rotational damage path. But straight line winds, the storm's coming up into the high atmosphere, and then they start to collapse, and that's when we get those downdrafts of 75-mile-an-hour winds. So they're just as bad, and you know, your windows are broken either way, but that was straight line winds. Lots of clouds out in West Texas. We're over here, and we're waiting for that storm from the West Coast to come, but it's not anything like it used to be, so don't worry about that. We'll talk about what to expect for the weekend coming up in a moment.
Mac, thank you. Senate Republicans have blocked a bipartisan border package. The vote, as most Republicans said they would vote against the actual legislation, which included $60 billion in wartime aid to Ukraine and $14 billion for Israel. Killing the bill enables Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to force a procedural vote on an emergency aid package for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. And here's your viewer poll this afternoon. Scan that QR code on your screen right now. All right, you can vote right now. And here's the question. How would you rate the effectiveness of Congress in addressing the current border crisis? Very effective, somewhat effective, not very effective, or not effective at all? Those are your choices, and we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and I will have an update on 25 News Now at 6. A Palestinian man is still in recovery after he was stabbed in the chest Sunday in Austin. The man accused of stabbing him is facing a charge of second-degree aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The victim's father and a Muslim advocacy group is calling for hate crime charges against the suspect.
He's in pain, he's in agony.
The father of a stabbing victim on UT's West Campus says the Sunday night attack was overwhelming.
Your son been stabbed. The first thing came to my mind is I'm gonna lose my son.
Nizar Dawar says his 23-year-old Palestinian-American son is recovering after being stabbed in the chest, breaking one of his ribs. Zachariah Dawar is not a UT Austin student, but had participated in a pro-Palestinian rally and was with friends in the area. Zachariah did not attend the press conference today, but his father says he asked him to share this message.
He said, Mr. President, Mr. Joe Biden, I blame you. I blame you for what happened to me. If you would have called for a ceasefire 3 months ago, this will have never happen.
Zachariah's family and the Austin for Palestine coalition say the attack was the latest example of anti-Palestinian racism.
It is clear that the hate was a motivating factor in this stabbing, and we call in law enforcement to investigate it as such.
36-year-old Bert James Baker was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Today, Austin police said the crime appears to be bias-motivated and will be investigated by the Hate Crimes Review Committee. New information from the arrest warrant shows Baker may have been drunk during the attack. The police report states Baker claimed to not know why he was brought to speak with Austin police detectives. Baker admitted to being an alcoholic and today having drunk more than the normal amount of alcohol for him.
All I want is justice for my son and justice for our people in Gaza.
The Muslim Coalition for Palestine says the Israel-Hamas war is at the core of this attack.
It's worth noting that the family who is currently grieving spent very little time talking about what they just experienced, and they were still hyper-fixated on the situation in Gaza.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected Hamas's demands for a ceasefire, vowing to press ahead with their military offensive in Gaza until they achieve, as he called it, absolute victory. Netanyahu added that the operation would last months, not years, and ruled out any arrangement that leaves Hamas in full or even partial control of Gaza. He also said that Israel is the only power capable of guaranteeing security in the long term. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. A former grocery store is being demolished due to increased taxes. And the Calhoun County Commissioner's Court has taken steps towards the creation of a waste transfer station and physical therapy room. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so when you're on YouTube you can see Crossroads Today. Stay with us. A tragic delivery inside a Georgia hospital is revealed as a murder. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 5, we hear from the attorney representing the victim's parents. Also ahead, health experts want you to know how to keep your heart healthy and have 3 tests that can determine the risk of heart diseases. The couple who claims their baby was decapitated during a difficult birth last summer spoke out today after news of the death being ruled as a homicide. A medical examiner's office says the baby died from, quote, a fracture dislocation with complete transection, upper cervical spine and spinal cord, unquote. The family's legal team says the report is consistent with what they had in their suit against the hospital and the doctor who delivered the child, and that too much force was applied to the baby's head and neck.
The significance of the Clayton County Medical Examiner's report is that consistent with what we've said from the beginning, the cause of the death was due to the trauma and the neck being broken and not from any other complications from the shoulder dystocia.
The couple's attorneys plan to depose all those who were in the room at the time of the birth. So far, there is no word on whether charges will be filed against anyone involved. Today, the trial began in the case of a missing New Hampshire girl. A man is charged with the 2019 murder of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony. He is facing second-degree murder, second-degree assault, and other charges. His daughter's body has not yet been found. The jury is scheduled to see some of the locations in the case, including an apartment building where prosecutors believe he hid her body before disposing of it. The trial is expected to take about 3.5 weeks. Eating healthy, not smoking, and exercising are all important in keeping a heart health. But there are some risk factors for heart disease that healthy lifestyles alone cannot help.
Lori Welsh knew her family history. Her mom had her first heart attack at age 48. Her grandfather, uncle, and aunt all had heart disease and all died in their early 50s. Despite that, Welsh says she first discounted a pressure in her chest and hands that went numb.
I had a 90% blockage in my left anterior descending artery, which is what they call the widowmaker.
Welsh says a screening revealed she and her mother had high levels of lipoprotein A, a protein on which cholesterol travels. It can't be controlled by healthy eating or exercise.
This is genetic, and you have it or you don't.
There are many people with higher lipoprotein A levels, but few are tested, says Dr. Wesley Milks with the Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center.
It's a form of bad cholesterol that is still undergoing increased awareness, both in the general population and among healthcare providers.
2 other screenings of which those with genetic risk should be aware: an ultrasound for aortic aneurysms to detect damage to the body's largest blood vessel, and a coronary CT calcium scan that can detect the hardening of arteries before symptoms appear. Milk says early detection is critical.
So we can develop a personalized treatment plan to try to keep their risk as low as possible.
Welsh says knowing she has high levels of lipoprotein A has guided her healthcare decisions, as it did for her mother.
We got 25 extra years with my mom because of that test, and that's an incredible gift.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Here's a look at some of the top headlines you'll find in the Quero Record. Public school teacher Tanya Lloyd runs for Texas Congressional District 27, and a cyber criminal was sentenced to 5 years in prison for money laundering. Read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The clouds are getting thicker. Didn't see a whole lot of sun today, and the winds are getting stronger. They're coming up at a south, so it's giving us more and more moisture. You know, the temperatures in the next couple of days are going to be in the mid-70s, but then we have that weekend rain. We'll be talking about what that's going to do coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned. Well, good afternoon, everybody. 69 degrees right about now. Of course, the winds are now kicking up to about 30 miles an hour. We only got up to 71 today, but it's feeling more and more humid. That's the big factor that you're going to feel. We've got clouds really coming at us from 2 levels. You're going to see more clearly in a moment. As the south wind kicks in, we get low-level cloud cover. As the remnants of what used to be that monster storm on the west coast starts moving into the plains, you can see how the tail end of it is already in Texas. In fact, it's already passed El Paso, and it'll be drifting toward the central part of the state. It will trigger some weather, but it's not anything like it used to be. And here it is, the center already rolling up into the upper plain. So, you know, rain in the Midwest is going to be good. They've been waiting for it. They're in a drought, and some rain for our area as well. Notice, interestingly enough, another low dropping through California, giving them more rain today, tonight, and tomorrow. It's kind of sad. All of a sudden, all of the southwest is rather showery today. We were getting rain showers, snow showers. Flagstaff got snow. They're getting snow in New Mexico as well. If you're a snow bunny and you want to go out there, you're going to have a nice little snowpack by the next week. Here we are in West Texas. You can see how shower activity has crossed El Paso and the mountains areas, and we're getting some rain already in the Panhandle. So that's part of this whole thing. For us, well, we still have the river warning for the Guadalupe River down toward Bloomington. The water just doesn't want to seem to recede as it continues going toward the Gulf, but at least it's not in the major urban areas. Now, tonight we'll be at about 60 as a low temperature, not exactly cold, and tomorrow probably 72, 74, somewhere around there. But I do believe you'll start feeling the humidity that is now beginning to pile up over the area. This is in advance of the storm. So I asked Future Tracker, okay, Future Tracker, how far can you take me? How big is the rain going to be? Well, as you can see, we went all the way to Saturday, and it's not much. It only looks like less than 1/4 inch right about there. So it's not a big deal. There is another rain behind that, and of course there'll be other rains, but this one is not going to be a big problem. As I mentioned, the storm center, where the most intensity of the storm is moving to the northeast. As a result, the frontal system is sort of dragging through our area. It's actually moving very slowly, and it probably won't get through until about Sunday morning. It's not a huge front. It's just a wind shift line, so there will be a little bit of cooling behind it, but nothing major. Notice the secondary system, the one that was in California today, it'll be crossing into the Rockies, and watch this. Very interesting that it will likely produce a little bit of snow up in Amarillo, maybe even Lubbock over the weekend, right about there. No, I don't think you're going to make a snowman, but because it's going to melt very quickly, but they're going to get that on Saturday and Sunday. So if you happen to have family up there, know they'll be dealing with that. Then after that, finally, we get a little bit of clearing, and things are going to look okay for a couple of days. So let's look at our forecast. Looking at Port Lavaca, cloudy, sprinkle or two early in the morning, but I wouldn't call it a shower. Getting up to about 71, 72, 72 in Cuero with cloudy skies. Again, the front is going to stall in in Texas, and then not get here until late Saturday night into Sunday morning. So we'll be in the mid 70s, and then starting next week, we'll cool down into the low 60s. So that might feel a little bit more like February. Well, that's your 7-day forecast, folks. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. We'll toss it back to Don.
Mac, thank you. And coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at your stocks. Plus, a new report shows how much ransom cyber criminals extorted in 2023. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 166 points, the S&P 500 up 42 points, and the Nasdaq up 154 points. Oil up 55 cents, closing at $73.86 a barrel. Cyber criminals raked in a record amount in ransom payments in 2023. A report says cyber criminals extorted $1.1 billion from organizations around the world last year. Ransomware attacks have debilitated schools and governments lacking the resources to defend themselves. Ransomware became a top priority for the Biden administration in 2021 after an attack forced America's largest fuel pipeline into a days-long shutdown. Stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, Beyonce is planning to launch a new hair care line. And now here's a look at what's coming on World News Tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Tonight, the Gaza hostage talks, where things stand. Plus, bracing for more as heavy mud crashes into homes and roads look like rivers. More Americans turn to the most watched newscast on television. World News Tonight with David Muir.
An update now on a fellow native Houstonian. Beyonce announced that she is launching a new hair care line. She made her announcement on her Instagram page with a cryptic video featuring footage of her mother's hair salon in Houston. The line will be called Sacred. It's unclear what the products will be, but a trademark request filed in summer 2022 says it will produce hair care products, styling tools, vitamin supplements, and hair accessories. Sacred launches on February 20th. And if you want to buy this new product from Beyonce, the line forms to the left, to the left, to the left. That's, yeah, they had to try to sneak in a little bit of the lyrics.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, now.
Whole lot of shaking going on
A whole
there.
lot of shaking, thank you. Now we're looking a couple of great days coming up, but now
Yeah,
rain.
the days are good. It's just it'll be cloudier and it'll be warmer and it'll be more humid. But like again, it's really going to feel like spring for the next couple of days. We'll be in the mid 70s. That rain chance is still coming in over the weekend, but it's not a huge thing. I mean, remember last weekend we were looking at severe weather. This will be garden variety showers because the main energy of the front is way up in the Central Plains. So not to worry. It may be a little damp, but I don't think we'll have any severe weather to deal with. And then after that, we got about 4 or 5 days of some actually quiet weather. Wow.
I like to see 70s there around coming up to Valentine's Day and 60s. We'll take that.
There you go.
Compared to 3 years ago. Yeah.
Well, you know, it was weird because we had the big freeze after Valentine's Day.
Right after, yes.
And then right into March, we were cold. Just nowadays, that's why you need a weatherman. See?
There he is. All right, thank you,
Find
Mac.
out what all's going to happen.
That's right, and thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.